We are the Kinsella Trust, a knife crime prevention charity. In this series, we'll be talking to a variety of people who have all been affected by knife crime. They'll be sharing their stories with us, telling us how they managed to cope with such tragedy and what they're doing now to help end knife crime. Some of the topics that we'll be discussing may be upsetting, so listener caution is advised. We'll be sharing some helpful links at the end of the session. Hannah, thank you so much for coming here today to share your story. Before we start talking about the reasons why you're here, tell me a little bit about yourself.
I am Hannah, I'm 20 years old and I'm currently in my last year of university. I'm studying sports therapy, so I've got my final exams next week. Which is
next week?
Yeah, which is scary, but it's good. Like, it's crazy how fast it's gone. I'm also working as a manager in retail at the minute, so I'm doing a lot of delivery behind the scenes and stuff like that. Really enjoy my job, and I started that in 2022, so it was about 10 weeks after like the whole incident happened. I'm a dancer as well. I've been dancing for 18 years and I'm with the same dance school now that I've been with since I was 3, and they've been so supportive. Like, this whole journey, dance is what I've fell back on.
So whenever you're ready, whenever you feel comfortable, can you share with us what happened?
Yeah, of course. So it's coming up to 2 years now. So 2022 it was. It was 4 days before my 19th birthday. I worked in a pub, just a country pub. It was a family run pub. It was a Saturday and I'd picked up an extra shift to just help out because we were understaffed and we had like a big party coming in. I started work at 1 and within an hour of my shift, my boss had stabbed me twice. I knew that I'd been stabbed in my hip because I saw the knife come out of my hip. Now I know the knife went in my back upwards 8 centimetres and then through my left hip and it went through 17 centimetres. Luckily, I came out with just muscular injury. I was so lucky it skimmed all my organs. Like, it could have been completely different. My injuries could have been like life-changing for me, but really lucky to still be here and like I'm doing okay now. But at the time I had no idea what was going on. Like, I'd come out of the pub from where I was sat and I'd run to grab my car keys because in my head I was like, I just need to get out of here. I don't know what's going on. I just need to leave. So I'd gone to get my car keys and then by the time I turned back, she was like face to face with me. Right. So I ran back through the pub just to get out again. Yeah. Like, I came back through the main entrance, which is where I found one of my best friends that I worked with at the time. Mm-hmm. And we ran to my car and I sat in my car and she said to me, Hannah, you can't drive. Like, you need help. Like, we need to get you an ambulance.
Oh my goodness.
So at that time, some of the locals had pulled into the car park and my friend ran up to the locals and was like, we need an ambulance. We need help. I'd worked in this pub previously, like with the owners beforehand. So I'd been working there since I was 17. So it would have been about 2 years overall. So I knew a lot of the locals, like they all knew me by name. They all knew me personally, obviously just from seeing them day in and day out. So I was really lucky that happened because he then helped me, gave me my first aid and stuff until the ambulance and the police arrived. From what I know, the police and the ambulance were there within minutes of it happening. I was very lucky to have like the assistance that I had. And then I got taken into hospital. I had a CT scan, but from that they couldn't determine what my injuries were like to the extent of my injuries. So I went in for emergency surgery. I had keyhole surgery. And luckily from that, they found that it was just muscular damage. And I was kept in hospital for 3 days. So I came out the 24th of May, the day before my birthday. So I was home for my birthday, which was really nice. And I was just so lucky to be home like with my family and stuff for my birthday. Recovery wise, I've been doing okay, but it was sort of just mainly the physical aspect I was so focused on because the day after it happened, I was supposed to be in dance competitions with like obviously with all my dance family. And I danced with my sister as well. And I just spoke to my dance teacher and I said, look, I can't tell you what's going on, but I've been in an accident at work and I can't dance tomorrow. Obviously, my sister knew what had been going on and stuff, but because it was an ongoing police investigation, I couldn't tell people what was happening.
Right.
So I told my dance teacher, and she was like, look, we're going to pull all the dances because they were group dances on that day. I was like, no, you know what? I want the girls to go out there and just do it without me. I said, do it for me, because like dance is one of the most important things in my life. Obviously, they all knew that something had happened to me and that I wasn't like, something wasn't right, but we couldn't say anything at the time. So I don't know if it was the day after or 2 days after, I was still in hospital, but an article came out in the media about what had happened to me, and somehow the media had got a photo of me. It must have been from like a social media profile or something. So although I don't know if it named me, I can't really remember, but they could all see my face in it. And a lot of like the people that I care about, people I went to school with, a lot of people, and especially my dance family, found out through the media. I think this was one of the main things that was hard for me, because I couldn't tell my story to them as I knew it. They could only read it as what, like, from what the media had heard and what the media had wrote about me. So that was one of the main things, because I just wanted to tell them personally, especially like my close ones, like especially the people from dance. Like, it was just so hard. And then they sort of knew then what they were dancing for. And I think one of our troupes was called Survivor.
Right.
That was performed the day after. And obviously that dance now is very close to our hearts.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm still here now, and I'm thriving and I'm happy. So that's the main thing.
It's an amazing story, and really shocking.
Yeah. I think it's hard for people to comprehend what happened to me, because it's so different to a lot of stories that you hear.
Yeah.
And at the time as well, I didn't know why it was happening. And I was just like, I don't understand what I've done wrong. Like, I worked so hard at my job. I used to go in, everything that was in my outside life stayed in my outside life. I'd never come to work with any problems. I just went in and I did my job and I was happy at work. I got on so well with the family that like ran the pub. And for me, I was happy there. I worked with one of my cousins who I'd worked with there all the time. One of my best friends who had worked with the previous owners as well. Like, we'd all worked there since we were able to work. So I sort of like, even when it was happening, I was saying, why has this happened? I don't understand. What have I done? I didn't do anything. I was just working. And I sort of could tell that on the day she wasn't how she usually was. Like, she seemed very reserved and just very quiet. Like, she wasn't like smiling and joking around as normal. That was sort of the relationship I had with both of them, because the owners of the pub was a husband and wife.
Okay.
So I had a very like jokey relationship with them, but obviously in a professional manner as well. When this happened, I was so confused, because I thought, myself and my friend said she thought it was a joke when it happened, because that was just the mannerisms of like how we worked together at work. From the process of afterwards, like going through the police and like with the courts, I found out now that it was because she thought that I was like having an affair with her husband, because of the way that I was at work. I was always smiling. When I went into the kitchen, she said that I would always approach him with like the orders, but that was because he was the chef. So I had to take the orders to him. So I think from court, they said that it was ruled a lot of delusion because of like working long hours and stuff. Which I understand, but there's never an excuse to pick up a knife, whether you're tired or not. Like, it does,
of course.
It's no excuse. When I was told by the police that this was the reason, and I sort of laughed down the phone, because I was like, that couldn't be further from the truth. Like, I've got a boyfriend. She knew that I had a boyfriend like the whole time. I've been with my boyfriend for nearly 4 years. So the whole time I was working at the pub. So it was just very confusing for me. It just sort of seemed like it had just been pulled up as an excuse for it to have happened. Not that any excuse would have been valid, because there never is an excuse. It was just very confusing. And when I explain it to people, it's still like, why? And I think that's one of the things that I will always struggle with is I obviously know her reasoning for it, but why did it happen? Like that never needed to be.
Yeah.
Just tell me to leave the job. Like, if you're not comfortable with me working there, just get me to leave. Like, it's all these questions which I will never get an answer to.
Yeah.
It's also something that I'm like, you know what? I've got to leave that chapter in the past now and move forward.
So if you don't mind talking about this a little bit here,
Yeah.
you said that you went into work and you found that she was quite different with you that day.
Yeah. So I was late to work that day because there was like something going on the roads, but I'd let my boss know.
Is she
the male boss? So they were both my bosses.
Okay.
But it was sort of the male boss that did all like the admin work.
Yeah.
He did all the payments and stuff. So anything that I would message about, I would message him.
And that's her husband?
That's her husband,
Okay.
yeah. So I didn't even have her phone number saved in my phone because there was just no need for it, because he was the person that you would turn to
Yeah.
with stuff like that. So I messaged him on the day to say, look, I'm running a bit late. I'll be there like within like 2-3 minutes. So I think I got there just after 1 o'clock. I went into the kitchen and I said hello, because like the staff entry we come into like go straight into the kitchen.
Yeah.
I said hello to everyone. They were both working that day, along with like one of my friends that I'd been working with, and their cousin. So it was sort of the three of them that run it, but the husband and wife were our bosses. So everyone said hello back. So I didn't really get any sort of like vibe off her then. But I went straight in and I started polishing cutlery at the bar because there was customers in, but it wasn't very busy. It was only just like opening times really.
Okay.
So I was polishing cutlery at the bar. I was sat the customer side of the bar, and then my friend was like serving customers the other side of the bar. And she'd come out once to bring some like clean cups and stuff to put on the coffee station. So I just smiled at her then, just as you would. And then about 5 minutes later, she brought some clean cutlery out to me as well, because I was polishing the cutlery. I was like, oh, thanks, you bought me a present. Like, I remember that like vividly. And she just sort of shrugged it off and was like, yeah. And then that was the last I saw of her until the incident. From the courts now, I know that she went and spoke to her husband after that and was like, tell her to leave. She's not welcome here. This, that and the other. And they had some sort of argument, and he sort of said, we've got a job to do. Sort of get over yourself and just carry on with the working day. And this obviously had triggered her somehow. And that's when she went into the kitchen to grab the knife. The next thing I knew, the door sort of squeaked that she came out of. The door squeaked and slammed against the wall. And then they were Portuguese, so I didn't know what she was saying. I could just hear her shouting. But a lot of the time when they'd speak to each other, it sounded sort of aggressive. But because I didn't understand what they were saying, I didn't think anything of it. And then the next thing I remember is I just saw the knife come out of my side. I didn't even know that I'd been hurt in my back. I had problems with my back before anyway, but when I was walking over the car park, when I'd come out, I was like, my back's really hurting.
This was afterwards.
So this was after it had happened. I was like, my back's really hurting, but I didn't know that I'd been stabbed in my back. It wasn't until the paramedics got there, they cut my clothes off and they like examined, and everyone was saying, no, we think it's just the side. Like, we don't know anything about the back, her back. But my friend sort of saw, she didn't see it in my back, but she saw that I jolted forwards, and that was before the one in my side. So that was obviously when it happened. But yeah, I wasn't aware of that until I'd come out of the pub and sort of saw what was like, sort of known what was going on when the paramedics arrived at the scene. And then I was taken to the hospital after that in the ambulance, and like my mum and dad came to the pub like as well, like when the police and the ambulance arrived. I sort of knew something was wrong, but obviously not to the extent that it...
Well, you would never predict that.
You would never, like...
No.
That's what they say. They never know.
Yeah. You said that this happened just shortly before your birthday?
Yeah, so it was the 21st of May that it happened. My birthday's the 25th, so it was literally 4 days before I turned 19.
Wow.
So obviously I was still so young at the time. I was only 18. And at that point I was like, am I going to be able to dance again?
Yeah.
Am I going to be able to continue with my uni degree? Like, what about the future? What am I going to be? Is this going to stop me from like doing things in the future? Because of obviously where it was, I was thinking as well, like, what if it affects like me in the future, like if I'm not able to have kids and stuff. Like it was one of the things that like I was thinking of, because I do a lot of work with children at dance, and I know in the future that that's one of the things that I want to do, like have children. That was one of the things I asked the nurses in the hospital, like, is that going to be a possibility in the future and stuff? So obviously it's had a lot of impact on me. I know now that I'm okay and that it was just muscular damage, but the recovery side of it has been difficult because I just wanted to get straight back into dance. I just wanted to do my university and carry on like nothing had happened.
Have your life back.
Which I can do. Like I'm so lucky that I can just carry on as if it hasn't happened. But obviously I still suffer now to this day with like pain and stuff. I suffer with a lot of back pain. And I get a lot of shooting pains along my side as well. I've been to the doctors a few times and they said it will heal when it heals, which it obviously will, but it's difficult to sort of just carry on without a time frame.
Yeah.
I went back to dance in the September after it happened. So we have like the summer off. So it was sort of like the time where we were breaking up for summer, and then I came back in September, and that's when I started dancing again. I just sort of eased back in it. And then last September I was awarded with the UTD like Person of the Year.
What does UTD stand for?
So that's United Teachers of Dance, and that's our like examination board, and that's who we dance with. And my teachers put me forward for the Person of the Year because I'd come straight back to dance after it happened. I was there watching, making sure that I was like catching up with everything. Yeah. I was helping out with costumes, stuff like just everything I could do behind the scenes. I was sort of trying to help out with. And then I went back in September, and last December, I think it was, I started my teacher's exams. So working towards like becoming a qualified dance teacher to sort of support at the dance school and like achieve them things, which is amazing. Going down the road of like how it's affected me mentally, I think everyone always says to me, you cope with it so well. And I do, like I know that I do. And I'm very lucky that I have a sort of strong mindset. And the main thing for me is I'm still here for a reason. I know that I'm here for a reason. So why dwell on what's happened to me now? I want to share my story. I want to raise awareness for it, but there's no point in me stopping the possibilities just because of that. I don't want people to look at me and think, oh, she's a victim of knife crime. I just want to be Hannah. Like,
of course.
I just want to carry on going forward, spreading my awareness where I can, helping people where I can. Obviously, it does affect me mentally, and I have my good days, I have my bad days. But I've got such a good support system around me. My parents are amazing. My family's amazing, and my dance family are amazing too. All my friends have been brilliant as well. They were all there for me at the time. They're still there for me now. Like, I know that I can turn to anyone if I need them.
It is a really amazing story. You talk about this being in May 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So you said that you came out of hospital the day before your birthday.
Yeah.
So we're in May now.
Yeah.
So that's been 2 years. How long after it happened did this sort of go through the criminal justice system? Did it go to court?
So it went to court in October, at the start of October. So it was about 5 months after. So I was really lucky because I know people wait years and years for a court date. So it went in really quick. It was a week-long case in the courts. She was charged with GBH with intent, the possession of a bladed article in a public place, and attempted murder. Because the cousin of my boss testified and said that she heard her say, I'm going to kill her, I'm going to kill her. Obviously, that was something that was horrible to hear.
Yeah.
Knowing that was what her intent was. But I try not to dwell on that too much because I know that it could have gone a different way, but I'm still here now. So that's the main thing. So she pleaded guilty initially to GBH with intent and possession of a bladed article, but she pleaded not guilty to attempted murder. So it went to trial.
Yeah. How was that?
That was really difficult. But again, it's sort of a blur in my mind. I don't remember it very well. Like when I think of it, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I went to court for this. Like it's a massive thing. But I think my brain sort of just takes it away. And that whole week was sort of just like, it was difficult for me, but it needed to happen. Yeah. I testified on the stand on the first day. So it was nice to just get it done and out the way. But I did stay and listen for the rest of the week. I think it was the Thursday that it came to a decision, and then the Friday was the sentencing. I think it was an 11-1 majority that she was found guilty of attempted murder.
Wow.
And then she was sentenced to 10 years in prison, and she has to serve 2/3 of that.
Okay.
So
it's great to hear that, so soon after your injury that you were asking your teammates, your dance family, keep going for me, keep doing this for me. And you didn't say what had happened to you. You wanted them to perhaps do the event without a cloud over it, perhaps. And how has that helped in your recovery, your relationship with the dance family?
The main thing for me is, obviously it has a massive effect on me, like it happened to me, but people don't realise how much of an effect it has on everyone around you. Like, it's not just me that's gone through this. Yeah. It's everyone around me, all my family, all my friends, all of my dance family. So that sort of was why I wanted them to just go out without knowing what happened to me and just do it. Like, just do it as if I was there. Having dance, it's sort of an escape. I've said it always, like, but even before this happened, you go in and you just dance and you just let everything out. So having that to fall back on is so nice because you can just let go. Like, it's such an escape for me. I dance with my sister. Everyone that I dance with now, I've danced since we were 3-4 years old. So, like, it's not just my dance friends, it's my family. Like, they're all like my sisters. My teachers are like second mums to me. Our dance family is huge. So just, the support system around me is just amazing. And that's one of the main things that's helped me through it. If there is anyone listening that's sort of been through the same thing as me, even if it's not the same sort of injuries and stuff, just use the people around you, lean on people around you. Don't just bottle it all up and keep it inside, because that's when you're going to start to struggle. You've
got so much hope for the future, and you're obviously a wonderful friend and family member as well. How have your family coped with what happened?
At first, it was a lot of denial. It was hard to sort of comprehend what happened. So, like, my sister was going through her GCSEs at the time. So it was sort of hard for her to know what had happened and just go to school and carry on. My parents were amazing. Like, they took the time off work that they needed to. And it's obviously a difficult thing for us to talk about because it's affected all of us, but they were there when I needed them. Yeah. They were straight to the scene. They've been an amazing support since. Anything I need, I've got it. And I'm very lucky to have that.
Yeah.
So it's had a massive effect on all of us. We're getting through it all together. Not just like my immediate family, like my whole family, my boyfriend's family, like it's affected all of us. Yeah. But as I said, the support that they provide me is amazing. It's definitely been hard, but they've been amazing. So that's all I can really say.
So lucky to have a great family like that.
Yeah, definitely.
It's really hard because sometimes there's an expectation that you should be, as a victim of an assault or a crime like that you should be grateful that you survived and you feel lucky. And you've got conflicting feelings perhaps as a victim.
Definitely.
So what sort of different emotions had you felt in the last couple of years?
I feel so lucky to still be here. But then at the same time, I shouldn't have to feel lucky to be here.
Absolutely not.
Like,
you're right.
Everyone is here for a reason.
And deserves to be here.
And deserves to be here. Like, no one should ever have to feel like they're lucky to still be where they are now. At the time, it was like I was the luckiest unlucky person to have survived such an awful thing and have come out the other side with just minor injuries. Like, it could have been so different. Like, at the time, especially when I didn't know the reasoning behind it, it was sort of like, well, why me? Like, why did it have to happen to me? It's sort of like the main thing that I struggle with now is it's not fair. Like, it's not fair to anyone, but like in your head, it's like, well, why did it happen to me? Like, it could have happened to anyone. Why was it me? And no one should ever have to experience it ever. But especially when nothing had happened for it to have happened.
Yes.
It was like, well, this could have all been avoided over something so silly. Like, I think one of the main things for me was I always had in my head, I want to share my story. I want to tell people what I've been through so that anyone else that has been through the same sort of thing can relate back to me. I know not necessarily it's going to be the same thing, but it might be something completely different, but they relate to how I feel.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to raise the money for for charity, and the Ben Kinsella Trust have just been amazing. Ever since I started raising money, they've been a massive support system again. Like, having the opportunity to share it today has been amazing. I'm just at the beginning of my story. I'm at the beginning of my journey of sharing awareness. There's a lot of fitness goals that I want to work towards, and anything that I can do within that, I want to be able to either raise money or do something to raise awareness, because every little counts towards raising awareness. And I think that's one of the main things for me is like my fitness goals are like my end term goals, because I've always been very fit with my dancing and stuff. And then this has set me back a lot. And I'm still struggling now with like the recovery and stuff. I'm getting there, but I'm not there. So like getting to those points and those goals is what sort of helps me as well to see something in the future. And when I can achieve that, it's obviously an amazing thing. So using those sort of goals to see what I can do to raise awareness and tell other people what's happened to me. I don't want to keep quiet about it. I want people to know.
And so you shouldn't.
Thank you. I want people to know, because awareness is like the main thing of how we're going to tackle this sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think what your story is really helpful for is understanding that knife crime can affect anyone.
Yeah.
100%. And it's not all the stories that we might read in the media, and it doesn't just affect certain types of people. It's that it can affect anyone.
Yeah.
And the consequences of that are so far reaching. You know, you've said it's not just affected yourself, but your family,
definitely,
your education, you know, your degree. You were contemplating, will I be able to finish it?
Yeah.
Will I be able to dance again? And it gives me shivers now, because I'm so pleased
Thank you.
that you are doing those things again, and you're so close to finishing your degree. Hannah, thank you so much for talking to me about what you've been experiencing for the last 2 years and what happened to you. A final message for listeners: if you could do one thing or ask people to do one thing towards ending knife crime, what would you say?
Put down the knife. There's no reason to ever pick one up. There's no reason to ever carry one round. You're not going to just hurt yourself with the consequences. You're going to hurt so many people around you, so many people of the person that you're intending to hurt. And there's just never an excuse for it. It's not worth it. What's the point? So just put down the knives. And anyone that's been through something similar to me, don't let it dictate you. Don't let it determine what you do with your life. Just keep going, do what you can, and just achieve the goals that you want to achieve.
You're an amazing person, Hannah. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for raising funds as well for the Ben Kinsella Trust that goes towards educating young people.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the opportunity as well, for letting me share my story. It's really important to me as well.
It's been our absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to our wonderful guests for sharing their experience. And thank you too for listening to the Ben Kinsella Trust podcast. If you've been affected by knife crime or have been a victim of crime, you can get support from victimsupport.org.uk or from supportline.org.uk. And Catch 22 also offer victim support services in some areas. For help with bereavement, visit cruise.org.uk, and Mind offer a range of mental health support services at mind.org.uk. Finally, to find out more about the Ben Kinsella Trust and the services we offer, visit our own website at benkinsella.org.uk. We can't solve knife crime until everyone recognises this issue and their own role within it. So please help us by sharing this podcast with friends and family on your social media or WhatsApp groups. Together, we can make a difference. Together, we can stop knife crime.